Hey friends, thank you for being here. So let's get started. Feel free to show your face. Feel free to not show your face. This is a great opportunity for the next hour and a bit, hour and a half perhaps, to work on your listing presentation. And so it is definitely something that we're recording, so you can watch it again at another time and continue to improve and adjust some changes you might want to make to your listing process. Really simply, we're going to talk a little bit about the participation workbook that has been emailed out. It's also being shared in the chat box through Tamara. She's going to share it a few more times. So if you haven't, download that and work from it. It's really a great opportunity to be working on your business. So use this next hour and a bit to really figure out what you like about your listing presentation and where there's improvements ahead. And you be you. Use the next hour to work on your business instead of how we're always working in our business. So in the past, I've had feedback from other folks that have listened to this presentation, and the takeaways that they got, and hopefully these are some of the takeaways that you will receive as well, is that they feel they've gotten better at concisely and effectively presenting their listing presentation, making a better pre-listing, in many ways making a pre-listing presentation at all. We'll talk a little bit about the one that we have. Figuring out what to do after you get a listing, and we're going to cover that a little bit as well. And so all the steps in essence of getting a listing, managing your listing, and then the process after that. Again, what we'll cover is going into it. We'll touch on the workbook, talk a little bit about myself, talk about my business plan and how I manage my business, and then we'll jump right into the listing process, about preparation and performance, the follow-up. We'll talk about a brainstorm of ideas on what many awesome realtors are doing right now in their marketing and listing process. Then we'll talk about my own Kimbuna listing strategy, our pre-listing package we'll go over, and then we'll cover our process of our listing, how we process it after we've secured the listing. So all of you have received the workbook. Again, it's your opportunity whether you want to just take in this presentation and then later focus on working on your business. Either way, I think it's a great set of questions that you can answer to really understand where there's improvements for you to strengthen your listing presentation and how to get better at that. I'm always really, really excited to talk about listings because for me, it's been a pivotal transformation where I feel I'm taking more control of my business by, being a listing expert. And a little bit about myself. So I've been a realtor for, now over 14 years, got to change, or over 15 years, time to update that. And consistently in the top 1%, on average, selling, a property a week. Myself and the team sells substantially more. And that control and consistency came from, getting really good at my listing presentations. The reason I share this with you is because I feel there's so much information out there where people are sharing their way of doing something or their winning system, and the substance isn't there. They're not a consistent realtor like yourself that is out there working in the marketplace and in the trenches. And so I always think it's really important that you make sure that you get the advice from folks who are like yourself doing the work instead of a lot of those people that are preaching success who haven't actually done the work themselves. Okay, so my business plan, real simple, is I want to sell 4 properties a month, and I want to find a way of doing that with about 20 hours of work. And I've done that through being a listing expert and building in leverage. So it's taken me a long time to get there, and I constantly tweak it. But again, my sources of business is being a listing specialist and getting repeat clients and their referrals. I work really hard at getting realtor referrals across North America to me for the Vancouver area. And I have growth as well in my business from association with other business services, alliances, and networking. And then I've created a lot of different cross-marketing and lifestyle marketing lead gen systems for me. And at the end of September, I'm going to be teaching a class on, it's called 99 lead engines that you could think of or use to grow your business. So that talks a bit more about some of the many options that are out there for you. So as a realtor, I simply, chose to work more and more with listings because I can control my time. I can build in a lot more leverage when I figure out what the critical steps are for me in securing and servicing my seller, and I can get help to do a lot of the legwork, and so it gives me leverage. Talking about the area that I service, so if any of you are not in the Vancouver area, I'd love to earn your referrals with myself and my team. We service from Squamish to Chilliwack. I obviously do a bit more in North Vancouver and Burnaby, but we cover all this area. If you have any referrals in this area, we love paying referral fees. So we pay 30% referral fee on the referral, as well as any business that's generated from that referral in the following 3 years. So several people who have sent us business get multiple checks off one referral. It's pretty cool. If you have any real estate needs across Canada and you don't have an agent to refer to, feel free to reach out to me. I don't get a benefit from it, but I have an amazing network that I've built through the Canada-wide real estate guy. I can connect you with an awesome realtor anywhere in Canada, and in a couple later next year, it will be working on the States, but right now it's Canada strong. And yeah, I can be the conduit and just make sure that you're working with a great realtor through the Canada-wide real estate guy brand that we have. All right, let's jump into the listing of language, the language of listing. So first and foremost, I think one of the biggest challenges and missed opportunities that realtors have is in the preparation and performance. You know, when I work with coaching realtors and they tell me about, you know, the listing presentations that didn't go that well, I ask them about, you know, did they practice before? And when they got those mail-in listing opportunities where a family member or a friend says, you know, I want you to sell my property, did you use that as an opportunity to really, you know, perform and do all the steps that you want to do in your listing presentation? And are you ready to compete? Listings are amazing because it's, you know, it's an audition. You are often competing against someone else. And in many ways, in the strong markets we seem to have had over the last decade, it's certainly a lot of work and money you're going to invest into the listing, but it's almost an addition for, you know, on average, I'd say in Canada, $15,000 commission check. And so sadly, a lot of people don't prepare for it. You know, a lot of people rush and do their CMAs or evaluations or put their package together, you know, before the meeting in the morning of versus the night before. A lot of people rush to the appointment and sometimes show up late or show up frazzled, or, you know, don't have the right clothes or the right mindset that they can come and really perform. And that's a wasted opportunity. So a lot of the win comes from the preparation that you do in advance of the opportunity. And then a lot of the success as well comes from the follow-up. So as soon as I finish a listing presentation, I drive away so I'm outside of their view, away from them being able to see me. I pull over within 15 minutes. And I used to just text them a thank you message. Now I record a video thanking them for the opportunity. I make sure in that video to, you know, to frame and touch on a number of things that were important to the sellers that they brought up. You know, it could be security, it could be price point, could be any number of things. Whether it's really important in my mind or not, I make sure to touch on it because that's showing that I listen to them. And again, within 15 minutes after I left the home, they're going to get a message that from me as appreciation. I will email them something of value within 12 hours from our appointment. So that could be, you know, comps, you know, information on other properties that they were interested in, could be information on properties they want to move to or areas that they want to move to. But I make sure that I can come back with real value, something that they didn't have, but something that they spoke about. So it was important to them. And I make sure that they get that within 12 hours. You know, the same day that I have the appointment, the listing presentation, I make sure that we put a thank you card in the mail. And I call within 24 hours the following day. So we have, you know, 4 really strong touch points that happen within 24 hours. And then I make sure that I give them market update messages at least every week about what's happening in the market, comparable properties to theirs that are, you know, joining the marketplace, properties that have sold since, you know, since our meeting that are comparable to them. And what I'm trying to do is just make sure that I'm top of mind while they're still in what I call the hot zone, which is where they're, you know, they're committed to selling the property. They just haven't made a decision on the realtor. And I just make sure that once I have driven over to the client's house and I have met with them, that I'm doing everything I can to make sure I don't lose the listing opportunity. Coming up now, we're gonna have a little bit of a brainstorming session of what a lot of great realtors are doing or could be doing for their listing presentation and their marketing plan. And what I would get you to ask yourself is, like, what are the services that you're currently offering in your listing presentation and in your marketing plan? And then ask yourself, are they realistic and are they repeatable? Do they make financial sense and do they fill your bucket? So what does that mean? So when you are, perhaps new in the business and the first few listings, there's likely a whole plethora of ideas that you have and things that you might want to do to market and to offer the seller for marketing of their property. You have to make sure, is that something that's repeatable and scalable that you can continue to do for every one of your listings? Because one of the challenges is you might, be investing a lot more money into your first few listings and realize that you don't want to continue that it's not scalable. The challenge with that is you've kind of set a foundation, and maybe future referrals that come from your earlier clients will be disappointed because they heard things that you do, which you can't continue. And a lot of it has to make financial sense. I mean, we get paid a lot of money when a property is sold, and equally we spend and invest a lot of money into a property that is not selling. Right now I have 9 listings, and I've honestly realized that 3 of them probably won't sell because there's either a gap in the seller's mindset where they feel the home is worth more than it is, or I've realized that the market isn't where I wanted it to be, and so I'm going to do everything I can to sell those properties, but I probably could have been a bit more critical and position them better, or chosen not to take the listings, because we spend a fair amount of money on each one of our listings. And now I have 3 listings that are essentially not going to move. And then really important is, do they fill your bucket? And what I mean by that is, early on in your business, or when you're relaunching your business, essentially what that means to me is many different times throughout our careers, we want more business. So we're, putting extra attention and energy into growing the business. And in those moments of time, we might be a lot more flexible on providing services or investing into things because we want to grow. But you got to make sure that it's whatever you're offering is who you are, and that you want to continue it and it fills your bucket. An example of which is one of the things that we're going to talk about is staging. That there's some amazing realtors out there that offer their own staging services. I know of an amazing realtor in Vancouver, and for each one of her listings, she paints a painting. She stages it and then goes and paints a painting, and the painting hangs in the property. I don't know if the painting becomes a gift to the seller, probably does, but it's an amazing painting, and she's very good at it, and she loves to stage the property. Now that is a really amazing value proposition. Luckily, there's lots of ways of earning business. And imagine if I did have some artistic skills, and I could paint, but I really didn't want to, and I could stage, but I really didn't want to. And if I was offering that service, sooner or later it would not fill my bucket. It would exhaust me, and it could potentially derail my marketing plan, because now I'm no longer providing something that I've started to be known for. So in that sense, everything what later I'll cover with you on the Kimbuna marketing plan are steps and offerings that we've methodically thought about, that we tweak slightly over the years, and they are things that we are really able to provide with our team and our system, and things that we feel are important, and things that we're committed to. So we run that same system again and again. And that often, mind you, is why we consistently sell properties. A lot of times a seller will ask me, what's the difference between you and another listing realtor? And I'll say, well, early on in my career, I really interviewed a lot of listing experts, and I figured out what do they do consistently that sells properties. I incorporated that all into my listing presentation, and ongoingly I continue to observe what works, tweak my listing process and marketing plan slightly, but I don't bounce all over the place. And we perform and follow a system that is repeatable and generates the results. So kind of that consistency secures our listing, that consistency protects our time, and it ensures that we get the same results again and again. All right, so jumping right into all the different things that great realtors are doing out there right now with their listing presentation is, many realtors are offering full staging consultations where they're paying for the consultation themselves. Some realtors are paying for full or partial staging. That is included in the listing. Again, everyone has their own way of doing that. I have my own opinion of that. Some full or partial staging packages that are included in listing presentation might be, more valuable or more realistic when you, the realtor, have a passion for it and have the skill set. Also, some realtors are doing virtual staging, which really has started to make more and more of a difference, especially as, so many buyers are looking online to, let me just mute someone here. Perfect. All right. So staging is very important. The easiest thing that I think many people can do is a staging consultation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. There's realtors out there that are offering a lot of extra services in their listing presentation. So they might be saying to the seller, hey, I have a repair service that can come in and fix those items that we discussed. That's included or extra in my listing presentation. Some realtors include cleaning services. They might say part of my listing package is that I will bring in a cleaning service who, gets your home ready or gets your home cleaned after we sell it. I know realtors who provide, moving services included or extra if they might just be managing it, or they might be paying for it entirely as part of their listing services. I think no matter what, every realtor provides counseling services throughout the transaction with our clients. Ongoingly, we all know how it can be a roller coaster. And again, it's a plethora of opportunities that are out there on the marketing and promotional platform. Realtors, provide professional photographs. Some provide floor plans. Some do Matterports. Some do professional videos. Some do cartoon, fun, short social media videos. Virtual tours, have virtual open houses. On the marketing side, many realtors invest in marketing dollars on, the social platforms that you know of: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Craigslist. They may buy specific listing websites. So it's like 123mainstreet.com, where it's a website that's created solely for marketing that property. Realtors will pay for ads at different boards or different syndicated websites where they can get the property, more out there through investments. So you need to figure out, again, which one of these items that you're willing to do that you can scale that are repeatable. There's realtors out there right now that are spending lots of monies on radio ads, newspaper ads. They have print media strategies, neighborhood flyer drops. All these things are effective to one sense or another, one degree or another. And you as a professional need to decide what are you going to do. But there's so many ways that you can market and promote your listing. And again, what you're doing here is you're picking the ones that you're willing to invest into, and then you're going to showcase those in your listing presentation. And you want to make sure that you are telling the sellers all these things that we just covered are the things that separate me from another realtor. They're the things that I invest into in return for selling your properties. I've seen other amazing ideas. A recent one that I saw was a notepad distribution, but it wasn't just the regular notepad where it said, 123, or it said, Jane Doe Realtor Brokerage, such and such. The top page of the notepad was a beautiful visual. It was like a just listed card of the property. So somehow they got notepads made, and it was a dual purpose. So it did the service of, telling the neighborhood of this new listing that it hit the market. And then it became a notepad that the consumer, the homeowner, will continue to write on. Amazing tool. I don't know how much it costs. I'm sure it's not inexpensive. And is that something that you could use to separate yourself, or is it something that you could not continue to repeat? There's bank listings. So there's realtors who have relationships with banks where they can put their listing into the bank around the cash machine. Realtors are actively door knocking and sharing their listings, actively calling cooperating realtors with informing them of their new listing, calling or mailing to cooperative realtors, distributing of flyers to offices, not only the public, but offices. And they have public open houses. Other great ideas might be that you do a realtor only open house, or you create a unique experience event around your listing. You could potentially have like a food truck come and make it, maybe if it's a family really friendly area and home, you could almost make it like a kids event where there's a face painter and a balloonist and you have a food truck. And if you're actually going to do that, and that's how you want to grow your business, make sure that you include that in your listing presentation. So you're telling the seller how unique things that you offer, because that will separate you from the competition. And again, pretty darn cool if you're going to do that for every listing. Some realtors provide and invest into a pre-home inspection, so that's where that they bring in a neutral inspector that inspects the property, and that report is available to all the prospective buyers afterwards. And there's obviously a cost to all these items, and each realtor is figuring out what they're willing to invest into. Some realtors offer storage services now that I've heard, where they, allow the seller, if the dates don't connect, that they will get all the items packed up and put into storage, and that's part of the listing investment that the seller is making. Some realtors do custom signage, do building sheets, do displays. In essence, again, here the idea that I wanted to really convey on this brainstorming session of the presentation is there are so many things beyond what the typical realtor is doing. And I constantly talk to listing experts, and once in a while I get a new idea and I incorporate it here on the brainstorm slides. And it's really cool. Like the one that I really liked, I know a realtor on the North Shore that does an amazing job building their business by, they do special events, unique experiences. So they get the food truck, they get the face painter and the balloonist, and they make it a really big event. And if they're targeting, small builders or, medium-sized builders, that is a pretty amazing thing. A builder probably directly is working with them because of those unique experiences that's drawing in the public. Now, you have to be honest with yourself. Perhaps though that kind of marketing style doesn't resonate with what's important to you, or maybe it doesn't resonate with the pocketbook because you don't get that many listings. All in all, though, the opportunity is to really work on your business, figure out what are the steps you're currently using in your listing, marketing, and promotional plan. What things are not effective and that you're not connected to, or perhaps cost too much. What things are you really passionate about, and all you're looking to do at any given point in time when you're working on your business is just incorporate one or two more ideas or changes or tweaks. And over time, that makes a really, really big difference. So the Kimbuna listing strategy, what we're going to go through here is kind of what we do as a team. We're consistently in the top 1%. On average, we sell a property every 2 to 3 days and have been doing that for almost a decade. I think it's a decade now. These slides are a little bit old. So what that tells the client when I incorporate that into our presentation is consistency and results. One of the things that we do for all our clients is we have a pre-listing package. So ask yourself, do you have a pre-listing package? And what a pre-listing package is, at the bare bones of it, would be a package that gets delivered to the prospective seller prior to you meeting them. And it should have information about who you are, the services that you provide, probably an overview of the steps that they're going to experience in the process ahead of working with you as a listing expert. Could have a testimonial page, could have a preferred vendor booklet in there of different services that they may need in getting their home ready. Again, it's kind of introducing yourself and proving that you're a professional prior to you meeting there. We have leveled up our pre-listing package a little bit, where we have a video book. It's a video book that I'll play here in a minute. You open it up, it gets delivered to the prospective seller, probably the same day as we have the initial lead gen call where we're booking the appointment, or definitely the following day, 1 or 2 days before we're going to meet them. If the seller is not home, we hang the package on the seller's door or get it delivered to them if it's an apartment. And our goal is that this is delivered to the seller and the seller reviews it. And we believe that based on our experience and what we're covering in the listing presentation, that they answer the question of, is the Kimbuna team experienced enough to sell my home? Are they passionate enough about real estate? And do they have the skills to do it? And I think our pre-listing package does a really good job of answering those questions, yes, yes, and yes. And so what we're able to do when we actually go in and have the listing presentation is, we have pleasant conversation and we view the home, and then we really jump into the needs analysis and the why. Why is the seller selling? And we go really deep into figuring out how do we communicate with the seller, what's important to them, what have they wanted to avoid from experiences in the past, what's the degree of experience. And what we find is that we can move the relationship so much further forward by having a proper listing presentation delivered and reviewed versus just showing up. Because back before we had a pre-listing presentation, and I'm sure many realtors out there still don't have one, what you end up doing in that listing presentation, I find, is you spend more of the time trying to prove your success and that that you're the realtor to choose versus really going into the needs analysis and moving the process forward. So we'll play the video here.
As soon as we have a listing opportunity, we are delivering our pre-listing package either to their place of work in ideal circumstances, or we are bringing it to their home. And if no one's home, we hang it on their front door. And this is what they would arrive to. We have a very cool digital copy, and we'll have a paper copy. So the paper portfolio they would look at is going to have market information, trends happening in our area that they can reference in preparation for meeting us. There's a document called agency disclosure, which is required in BC. We have our Keller Williams Outfront magazine in there. And then we have a seller's guide, paper version. Talks about the team, us being the top 2%. More about the team, visuals on showing how we sell properties, talking about the Keller Williams brand, and then talking about the process of how we're going to move forward in selling a property, preparation for sale, and the process again. Some testimonials and questions that they could answer in preparation for meeting, and then a breakdown cost sheet that we can review. So that's the paper copy. The cool copy, the cool tool that we have now is a video pre-listing book. So this book arrives, looks kind of like an iPad, and they're like, hey, what is this? They open it up, and it instantly jumps to our pre-listing video.
In today's market, it's more important than ever to choose the right people to maximize every opportunity when selling or buying your home. With the Kimbuna Group, you are choosing a trusted group of professionals who consistently exceed industry standards, and yours. We know what makes your home sell, and we are with you every step of the way.
I'd say our experience with Kimbuna was all very professional.
They respect the fact that it is your home. You're not just buying property, and they really pay attention to that.
Our proven marketing strategies allow us to best position your home for the current market conditions.
It's not just lip service like, yeah, I know what you're saying, but really gets your feelings, gets your understanding.
That understanding and listening was, I think, the art of the success we had in that transaction.
We know what makes your home sell. How it is priced, how it shows, and how it is marketed makes all the difference. We provide a concierge service that will manage your listing process from beginning to end. We take care of every detail. When you meet with us, we'll get to know you to understand your selling goals. We will explain the selling process so that you know what to expect. We will come prepared with comparable property data to best advise you on how to position your property in the current market and maximize your returns. We go beyond industry standards, investing more energy, expertise, and resources to prepare your home for sale than any other agency. According to the Canadian Real Estate Association, 97% of buyers start their search online, and 78% of them are searching on mobile devices. The higher the quality is of the marketing elements of your home, the higher buyers will perceive its value. That's why our clients' homes receive the highest quality media marketing elements possible and a comprehensive digital strategy. Your home's media-rich campaign reaches thousands of potential buyers in your market across multiple platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Google, and more. When you choose the Kimbuna Group, you are hiring a team of professionals who actively manage the entire process for you. Our marketing systems provide you with the highest return potential for your home through a top-to-bottom consultation. We then create a custom listing plan which includes our sales strategy, market timing, as well as defining how we will communicate with you throughout the process. We schedule and manage every detail to ensure all actions are accomplished according to our high standards. We arrange a personal consultation with our staging team to give you an edge over the competition. Data shows that buyers spend less than 10 seconds viewing a listing to determine if it's a possibility. Our home staging can get you on their list. We produce a complete set of professional photographs, professional floor plans, and Matterport tours to elevate your listing from the competition. Potential buyers will have an opportunity to visualize themselves in their new home with these top-quality marketing tools. Our in-house design team will create your professional marketing materials, including a custom for-sale sign, complete with multiple photographs and key features of your home, a 4-page high-quality feature sheet, and much more. We are known within our industry for our creative marketing systems and well-prepared listings. The marketing your home receives has one purpose: to reach potential buyers and lead to in-person showings. Before your home is even on the market, we leverage our amazing industry relationships by directly reaching out to the top volume agents in your area to give them details on your listing. Further leverage comes from the synergies we create at our Keller Williams Realty brokerage through being the managing broker and owners of a thriving real estate office. Our focus then goes global. Keller Williams Realty is the world's largest real estate organization, and we utilize its size for your benefit by marketing your listing all over the world. British Columbia and the Lower Mainland is a world-class destination. Our team and its affiliations allow us to service clients in a multitude of languages. Just as important as what we do for our clients is what we do for our community. We believe that who you work with matters. The Kimbuna Group has made a lifelong commitment to supporting our local schools, youth sports, community events.
Well, thank you for letting me share that with you. And I think many of you would agree that if that was a package that arrived at your door and you were a seller and you were interviewing other realtors, that would probably separate us and put us into the running of earning that listing. So some of the things that we offer in the Kimbuna listing process and that we cover in our presentation was obviously covered there in the video, but I'm going to run through it. And so right now what I'm going to run through would be the printed Kimbuna listing process that gets printed off and again delivered in the pre-listing package. Prior to our video book, this would have been the PowerPoint that we would have run through with the client. And definitely over my 15-year career, what I've learned and learned lots of mistakes from is early in my career, I worked much harder than I do today, and I did everything much perfecter, almost, that's not a word, but like almost better. But I did a really poor job of communicating to my clients what I do. Now I certainly have a lot of tasks that I take care of. The team does even more. And what we make sure of is that we share that with our clients, that we share that in the listing meeting, because I think a lot of realtors believe the sellers know what's involved in selling a property, which they certainly don't. And they don't know how to compare it. So if you go through your listing process, some simple things that we do as a realtor that you do in your process will separate yourself from other realtors, will really inspire and surprise the sellers, and could be the reason why you get the listing. Then, of course, without saying, you need to make sure that everything that you offer in your listing presentation and you talk about, that you fulfill and go through. So if I was in my listing presentation right now, I would talk to them about the fact that, by working with us, you're working with the Kimbuna Group. There's a set of licensed realtors and several great admin staff that are supporting us. And the reason that that's important to, the sellers, because although I'm the point of contact for my listings, there are people that are helping me. And so we're getting a lot more done than could be done by singular realtor, so to speak. And again, this is my presentation. If I sat down with any one of you and interviewed, how you operate and the services that you offer, I could come up with a script and an angle, whether you're a single agent that's brand new, a single agent that's really experienced, or a team. I could come up with your value propositions and angles that I would showcase in your listing process. So again, I'm going to talk to the seller about the team and how that's important and the leverage it offers. I would visually show the seller that we're in the top 1%. We sell a property every 2 to 3 days. A typical realtor sells a property, 7 times a year. Talk to them about how our listings sell well above industry average. I think a lot of sellers always assume that all the listings will sell, which is not the case. The majority of our business comes from repeat and referral. I think this is powerful 2 ways. One, if we get a referral from an existing client and we sit down with that referral, they realize, oh, this is exactly what we're doing, is how this realtor and this team grow. And if it's a client or an opportunity that we get through another marketing method, they realize that, the bulk of our business comes from repeat and referral. And so clearly we must be doing something right. On our team, we have a multitude of different languages that is spoken, and so we cover that. And so what this has helped us in the past in our local market in Vancouver, early on in my career, I think I lost quite a few listings to sellers who wanted to go with me, but they went with a team that spoke Mandarin or Cantonese or perhaps another language, and because they felt somehow they were going to miss on certain groups of clients by not having a seller, a listing agent that spoke that. Of course, I don't speak these languages. I only speak German other than English. But if it's important and if it's required, there's someone I can reach out to. And so that's something that we convey and I think has really strengthened our delivery. We do talk to our clients that we do less and less of international marketing, but it is something available for the right listings where we can advertise to international clients. We'll jump into, during this point now, with the client, I would jump into the market evaluation of their home. I try and do it really simple. I try and have 5, 6, 7 sold properties, and then 5, 6 active properties. If there's expired properties, that's terrific. But for the last several years, there haven't been a lot of expired properties. And what I would do here is, I always try and convey the other side of the equation to the people that I'm speaking with. So in this case, I'm speaking to a prospective seller. I'll have come with comparable properties to their home. And I'll go through, the bedrooms, the location, the condition, and all those things, and then we'll talk about their home. And what I'm making sure is that they agree that, these are comparable properties to their home. And then we'll look at where they're priced and how long they've been on the market. And often what that does, it kind of pokes a few little holes into the seller's mindset about the value of their home, because, they have to kind of see that if they were a buyer looking to buy a home, would they pick their home over the other 5 or 6 that we've just presented? And then we go over the sold properties, and you got to make sure that they're the right comparables, and then the seller can see, okay, well, this one sold for this price and it was in this condition and it was 4 streets down, 2 houses over, and it's it's 70,000 less than what they wanted to sell for. And so when you have the good comparables of sold properties, what I find that combined with the actives is often the seller themselves is realizing, okay, I want $1 million, but I see why you're saying, the range is 900 to 930. Like, that probably is where this is going to sell. So in that conversation, through a really simple market evaluation, I've been able to probably pull them back from listing at $1 million to maybe we could list at 950, so that, we're effectively getting to the finish line and maximizing the value of the property. So that would be the CMA that we go through. During the listing presentation, I would talk to them that for all our listings, we provide, as part of our service, a professional staging consultation. We don't pay for any staging. If the seller decides to hire some, pieces of furniture to a point what they currently have, or get a full staging consultation, that is an investment that the seller does with our stagers. We do offer to have some handyman services if there's like a towel rack or that needs to be reattached, or a doorknob. or lights to be replaced. There's little things that we are able to take care of with one of our partner contractors. If it's, if it goes too large in scope, then we can certainly connect our prospective sellers with the service providers that can take care of it, but we're not going to cover it as part of our service. We have an immense, an awesome preferred vendor list of people that we trust and that we connect our clients to. So pretty much anything that a seller could need in the course of getting their home ready or moving from their home or processing the sale of a home, there's people that we trust and that we can connect them with. And this preferred vendor service list literally has scored us listings because as a realtor, many of the services that will be required through the transaction that you can connect them with. But sometimes as a realtor, you forget to tell them that, and you certainly forget to show them. And so, at this point, often the seller will bring up questions about lawyers or moving or other things. And what we discover is we actually start to dig deeper. We, so to speak, unravel the onion and get deeper where we're really figuring out what is the trigger for the seller. Like, why are they selling and what are they really worried about? And it often comes up when they're talking about the unknowns or things that they're scared. So we make sure they know we've got them covered where we can connect them with the right people. And we're able to really, again, have that deep conversation in order to connect with the seller and also to be able to really help them. Part of our service is professional photography, regardless if it's a hoarder $200,000 apartment or a $2 million apartment, we provide the same services. And again, that consistency is key in making sure that when our sellers meet with each other or talk to each other, that they all know they got the same service. And it also makes sure that we don't cut corners because we think a property is going to sell quickly. So we don't do certain things. We do it all for all the properties. We do professional floor plans for all our listings. We have an interactive floor plan. We do Matterports. So if most of you are probably familiar with that, I'm a big fan of Matterport, where it's a video that you can kind of drag your way through the home and see all the different parts. Then we talk about things that everyone does, but we explain how we do it differently. So if you were in the Vancouver Real Estate Board, when I did this, I think 2 years ago, there's 14,000 members. Now there's 1,000 more. But that aside, okay, so what I would be doing here is telling the seller, 95% of all properties are sold through the MLS, and we're going to showcase you on the multiple listing service. However, we are going to do it at the highest level, which might be different than many realtors. Some realtors will just throw up the listing. They'll have a lot of information missing, and they won't have all the extra documents and information attached to the listing. We make sure that, we utilize the full availability of photographs that we can load. We have virtual tours embedded. We have the strata documents available. We have extra information attached to the listing. We have something that I'll touch on a little bit called the building info sheet that we create. And the goal here is to put as much powerful information onto the MLS listing so that it gets picked up in all the searches that it can. And then when a buyer is working with a buyer's agent and they print off, our listing to go and look at it, they're getting more than just the one-page information. They can print off a number of different documents, and the buyer's agent knows what's important to the buyer if they do a really good buyer's consult. And so they're able to answer a lot of questions. For example, they could print off the Form B, and maybe the buyer's really concerned about older buildings with low contingency. They could look at the Form B and be like, oh my gosh, this unit has 2 million, or this strata has $2 million in the contingency, and per unit that's like $5,000. That's well above industry average. So that could make them, like our listing more even before they see it, and could be the stickiness that makes them move forward with us. We do custom signage for all our listings. Our signs showcase the property, often showcasing pictures that you wouldn't see from the street. And we're here to sell the property, not the realtor. So that has been obviously over a 15-year career. A lot of investment has gone into those custom signs. However, have they gotten us listings? I'm sure they have. And so it's something that resonates with us, that is important to our team, and that we do for each one of our listings because we figured out how to effectively do it. We do professional listing sheets for all our properties. We might bring along a sample or two. Especially if I'm at a listing presentation and I've sold a similar property nearby. If I can find some leftover listing sheets, I bring that with us so they can see the quality. They can also, again, reconfirm that, we're selling properties just like theirs around the corner. We put together a realtor package for all our listings that has, the key information of the bylaws and the strata documents. It confirms square footage, it has the Form B, has the floor plan, the property disclosure statement, which is something that our province does, and I think all of Canada might do. And what this is the package that the realtor can download and really sound knowledgeable about the property. And they may have never sold in that building before, but if they spend 10 minutes, looking through this info package, they will really sound knowledgeable. They will have all the key information available that they can then, speak to their client from a perspective of knowledge on that property versus always having to say, well, if you're interested, we can find that out. We can ask that question, we can find it out. Something that we used to do pre-COVID, we haven't brought it back yet, is custom packs of snack packs. So we would, you'd have M&Ms or granola or gummies, and on it would be a sticker of the property with the MLS number and the key details. We've had many stories where clients, rather buyers, are driving, there's a ski mountain near here that's called Whistler. It's about a 2-hour drive from Vancouver. And so often people look at some properties in Vancouver and then they go back and go skiing in Whistler, and they get hungry along the way and they find in their pocket a little snack pack, and it kind of makes them rekindle their idea about, is that a property that we're interested in, why or why not? So we have literally done transactions from bringing our property back into the buyer's, perspective through this creative marketing toy. We have relationships with local banks in the area, so our listings are featured in certain banks. We do a just listed flyer mail out within the area around the property or within the strata, asking the seller, do you know of or asking the neighbors if they know of any buyers that might want to move into the property. Then we talk about all the different advertising we do with their listing. So we have paid ads. We'll cover that in a minute. We also showcase here all the different websites that their property will be listed on. Some of these are custom to us. Some of them are syndicated that every realtor that lists through the multiple listing board would be doing. However, is that other realtor showing the consumer all the different pages that their property will be showcased. Many people will only sell once or twice in their career and they have no idea how it works. And so the visual is really important on showing the seller what you will be doing. We, for certain properties, we do printed ads in newspaper or magazines for the clients. Skip that one. This is a cool one. So for all our tenant occupied properties, one of the things that has won us a lot of tenant listings is because the sellers are often concerned about being inconvenient to their tenant, or they feel bad. And what we tell them is definitely, like, it is no matter what going to be a change for the tenant, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But our goal is to make it as comfortable as possible. And one of the ways we do that is that we create this box of cookies and coffee mugs and coffee cards. And the first time we meet with the tenant and, we learn about the property, their schedule, and we build a plan together to showcase the investment property, is we leave this box behind with a note. And the note says, thank you for keeping your home so tidy. It is your home. We're going to work around your schedule. Feel free to reach out to us anytime over any questions or concerns or comments. Anytime we kick you out of your home, quote unquote, kick you out of your home for a showing, please go and have a coffee on us. And many times what we find is we have kind of a neutral, sometimes even a little bit of a hostile relationship with a tenant. And after this, it usually gets pretty positive. And the tenant realizes that we are doing our best to minimize the impact on them. And again, this is a step that most listing agents don't do. And I know this has won us business because I know I've sold a lot of investment properties where the sellers are really, like, some sellers literally don't sell their property because they feel so bad on the tenant. If they met with me and they understand, all the things we do to minimize the impact to the tenant, and you know, the likeliness that if the rent is good, that we can find another investor. A lot of sellers, you know, decide to move forward with us and sell the property because they know their tenants are going to be taken care of. We do professional open houses. We do realtor open houses. That might be like a sneak peek. It might be sushi and wine or pizza and beer, where, you know, we bring in realtors, especially the realtors that do the bulk of the business in the area, for a sneak peek before the public open houses. It's a great way of getting realtors through there that they have seen the property. They might be busy on the weekend or going away, and they're able to talk to their clients about a property that shows up online, might not have caught the buyer's eyes, but the realtor says, hey, I saw this last night. It's awesome. I think, you know, it could be perfect for you both. Please go look at it this weekend and then call me if you're interested. And then because we have a lot of admin support and depth in our team, there's a lot of things we do that's kind of old school, but really effective. So some of that is, you know, prior to a property going live, I'll have received the photographs, the Matterport, and the key details. We send that out to a core group of producing realtors, and we say, we got this listing coming up in 3 days. And what we're doing is just giving them a little bit of information that will hopefully, you know, tickle their brain, where they're like, oh yeah, I got a buyer that's going to be interested in that. They might even send it to the buyer. And what we're doing is building a lot of pre-momentum prior to the listing even going public. Now, sellers really like this because there's very, you know, most sellers really want to know, like, what can you do different from other realtors? And so this is a task that any realtor can do, but most can't do it because they're barely organized enough to, you know, organize the photographs and the basics. We do proactive, you know, lead gen, where we invite the neighbors to the property. We follow up on sign calls. We follow up on visitors, and we make sure we get really constructive feedback. We don't just tell them, you know, the repeating positive things that everyone is saying. We follow up with buyers. Sometimes we follow up with buyers agents 3-4 weeks later to figure out that they bought another property, and then we ask them, why did you buy that property versus the one that we have? And we're constantly trying to get constructive feedback that the seller can work with. And as a result, we've had sellers who are really passionate about a certain color scheme in their home or a certain setup, and they're like, no, I don't want to change this. I don't think we need to. I think the property will sell. Then 3-4 weeks into the market, you know, we get feedback that, you know, the buyer just didn't like the way the room was configured or the colors, and they moved in a different direction. And often we don't look like the bad guy. We look like the person that's brought true market feedback and has told them, you know, where they need to improve in order to sell, and those changes get made, and then we sell. We provide effective ongoing communication. We provide a weekly summary of sold listings and active listings to the client. And we tell them, again, this is part of my listing process. So I'm going to tell them all the things that we are going to do so that the prospective seller knows that, you know, how we will communicate. We'll even ask them, how would you like us to communicate? Is it mostly by text, phone calls, emails? We'll do a mix of both, and we'll focus more on the ones that you want. We'll tell the seller that there's going to be, you know, points of time where they're going to get marketing summaries on their listing that showcases everything that's happened so far, the results that we're seeing, and it also has a suggested course of action always at the end. And so we're constantly telling our clients that, you know, whether it takes 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 months, we're going to process and be there with you through the whole way of getting your home sold. And that really is important to sellers, because sometimes they think, you know, a realtor is just going to throw the listing up, and then what happens if the property doesn't sell? Then we talk about our brand and why pick us. So what I wanted to talk about here now is, and thank you for being with me, is you've now gotten a listing. So how are you going to, you know, communicate that and process your listing? So consider the next steps that we're talking about is, we got the listing, and what do we do with it? So we're now in stage 1 with the seller. You know, we've signed the paperwork. We know we have the listing. We go away, we send them an email that explains the process ahead and what the list date is. Again, it's all part of the communication plan that we have. Then we send them an email that has links to the floor plan, the Matterport, the professional photographs. And again, they get to see this prior to the listing going live. And often at this point, sellers are like really on board with us because they're like, oh my God, my place looks amazing. You did a great job. And equally, sometimes the seller's like, I didn't like that photograph. You know, I wish I didn't have whatever, this shelf showing, or and criticism comes up, and we can fix it before we go to market. So we share that information with our sellers. With our sellers as well, we write up the public remarks and we share that with them. 90% of sellers are like, that looks great. The other 10% are wanting to change it. And what we discover sometimes at that point is that we're working with a seller that that initially appeared to be pretty casual and uninvolved, and now is really critical and has a lot of input. And so it makes us aware of how this person will probably react for and act for the whole process of the listing time that we work together, and puts us in a better position to deal with that. Then the listing will go live on the MLS. We send them an email that they have a link to it, and then we tell them, we're now showcasing your property to 15,000 plus realtors in the Greater Vancouver board. We send them samples of the marketing items before they're printed, so they get to see the custom sign, the listing sheets. Once the listing is live and it's been syndicated and pushed through all our platforms, we'll send them an email with a link to all of those so that they can go and make sure that we're delivering on what we told them we would. And they can also share that on their platforms, and they can, share it with their friends. And so they're involved in marketing their own property. We will show them, again, so much of what you need to do during this stage is actually show the client that you are delivering on what you said you would. And this was probably where we get the majority of our referrals, because we're following through, we're delivering on what we said we would. Again, we would show them the realtors package so they can see all that information, knowing that that's shared with the partnering realtors, and it gets more attention to their listings. We would share with them the mortgage flyers. There's a thing that we do that's an Ellie report. What it is in our market, we have the ability to put all the strata documents into the Ellie system, and it creates a report, and it organizes all the strata documents. And so it's funny, many sellers inquire about this, then they look at the report and they're like, I love this. I wish I had this when I was a buyer, because the strata documents were so hard to navigate and understand. And they love the fact that we invest into this tool and share this with prospective buyers, because they believe, and rightly so, that it makes digesting the strata information so much easier, and thereby separates them from other similar listings. We show them examples of our paid ads on Google or Facebook, so they know that we're doing them. And then every Monday morning, we send them an email with the summary of the week that just passed. And then every Wednesday, we send them an email that shows them all the comparable properties that have now come to the market that are competition since the last week, and all the solds that have happened in the last week. And so we're constantly making them aware and keeping them involved, because what we don't want to do is take all the pressure on ourselves, so that when it gets to a point where we need to make tweaks on price or something, that they could ever ask us, what have you done, and why does this need to happen? Often our clients will come to us and say, hey, I think we should go down on price, because they've kind of seen that we're doing everything we can. And, they also are seeing that they're missing out based on price. So they're more educated because of what we're doing. So those are the communication points. And then processing your listing. All right. So when we would have an accepted offer, we're at the end of stage one. So now we have an accepted offer with a prospective buyer, and typically it would have conditions in place. And so we're now processing the listing. We're at stage two, and we would send an email to the client that outlines, hey, congratulations, you have an accepted offer, and it will outline all the steps that are going to take place. This is really important, because up until this point, you've been really busy communicating with the seller, and perhaps the seller's never had that much communication before from a realtor. And then when you're at this stage where the buyers really have control for a week to do all their due diligence and make the final decision of, are they going to buy the property, the seller can feel kind of nervous and feel like you're no longer communicating with them. And partially because a lot of the work is on the buyer side, but what the seller might feel is that you're no longer focused on their property, that you have moved on to something else. Now, the risk in that feeling, if a buyer or rather a seller feels that, is should the accepted offer fall apart, that seller might feel like, hey, you were interested up until we had an accepted offer, and then you kind of abandoned me. And you could have worked really, really hard and done nothing wrong other than you stopped communicating with your client. And that in itself could erode the trust in the relationship, and you could lose the listing. So we make sure to, tell the seller the steps that are going to happen now in the week ahead, because the buyer is going to do their due diligence. And then we also tell them the truth, which is like there'll be less communication because we will be responding to what the buyer is asking for and doing. And really, it's in the buyer's control for the next week. And so we prepare them for that. Let's see here. All right. All right. So the buyer has removed the condition, and the buyer has put deposit into trust. You're at the end of stage 2. As a seller now, the seller knows when they're going to sell the property. They know at what price they're going to sell the property, and they're just waiting for that to happen. So we're going to send them a reminder 1 month out of completion, again, detailing all the things they need to be doing, giving them the checklist of moving and disconnecting services and planning where they're going. And then we send them a reminder 1 week prior. And in that first email after the buyer would have removed conditions, we would have sent them this email on stage 3 of the selling process. It would again outline all the key dates. It would introduce different service providers that they might need, in this case, movers. Previous touch points would have included, offering them the names of notaries or lawyers for the conveyancing. And what we're doing is making sure that the client has the most amount of touch points and reiterations of all the key dates. Because what we have found is sometimes if this is not being done, in the office where I work, I can tell it's not being done because some of the sellers forget about the dates, and then it's a rush to get something done, or they might book a vacation on a critical date. And so we're just making sure that the seller is aware of the steps still ahead in order to sell their property. So those are kind of like the 3 distinct stages of the selling. And yeah, I hope I covered what options are out there in order to market and promote a listing. I'm hoping that you take the time to rewatch this video and work on your workbook and really figure out, is there any changes you want to incorporate? Keeping in mind not to change it dramatically. 1 or 2 changes will really make an impact, and make a change that you will commit to, that you can continue to do for at least half a year, if not for a very long time, in order to see if the results are what you want. I really appreciate every one of you being here for the last little hour and a bit, and I will share this video with you. Feel free to reach out to me if there's any questions you have specifically on any of the items we discussed. And again, if you are outside of Vancouver, and if you have a referral to the Vancouver area, we'd love to apply for that role and be of service to you. So really appreciate all of you being here today. Thank you. If there's any questions, feel free to jump in, and otherwise, again, I will share this with all of you in the days ahead. Let me see if there's any questions. Perfect. Made it easy for me. There's no brain twisters.
We did have a question.
Yes, Scarlett.
From the time that you sign the listing agreement to when it goes live, do you find that there's a sweet spot in days in between to get yourself prepared for the marketing, the custom, everything? Do you find that there's a sweet number to kind of hit, like 10 days or a week or?
Yeah, great question. There isn't, for us, it's a minimum of we kind of work it back from launch date, or rather from when the client is ready to hand over the keys. So we say, whenever you're ready to hand over the keys, the fastest turnaround for us is 4 days, because we want to make sure to do all the steps. And so we can move very quickly. But the quickest would be a 4-day gap from when the seller says, my home is now ready for you to take over. I've had, you know, I've signed listing paperwork where they're gonna list months down the road, but they were just in town and we went through it. But I make sure, you know, to give ourselves at least 4 days from when they get it ready. Phil, you asked the video books. Great question. Tamara probably still, if you reach out to Tamara, might know that the actual company. The sad thing is I don't think they exist. It was a company from Ottawa, marketing company that did video books. However, I have seen other video books with other realtors. So I know it's out there, a service that you can, I'm sure, Google and find someone that does it. Oliver, the 5-year trend, market trends, that's in, if you're with Keller Williams Van Central, so that is in the shared folders drive. We updated that this year. So there's a document in there that's the 5-year market trends. And if anyone is in Vancouver but not with us that wants it, just send me a message and I can send it to you. Any other questions? I'm just looking through here. I don't see anything else. Cool, team. Well, go work on your business and yeah, go get some listings and get the leverage that you deserve. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.